Okay, Ishan Prabhu, we're live here on our Sunday evening, 12 p.m. Pacific time, California time. Ishan Prabhu, it's going to talk about. Go ahead, Ishan Prabhu.
From him, Krishna Prema emanates. Prema Bhakti Yaha Hoite. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today's talk from him, Krishna Prem emanates. Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, verse number 10, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pratipurvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayantite. Translation: Krishna, Sri Bhagavan, is speaking to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love. I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Srila Prabhupada gives a class on this specific verse, June 17, 1973, at a Srimad Bhagavatam lecture, actually. First canto, 10th chapter, verse number 2, he speaks, Srila Prabhupada addresses this verse, Tesham Satata Yuktanam, wherein Krishna is saying that if you love me, I give you the understanding by which you can come to me. Srila Prabhupada, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pratipurvakam Buddhi Yogam Dadamitam. Srila Prabhupada speaks. Simply, if you are engaged in Krishna's business, Pratipurvakam, with love, not as hackneyed, oh, here is the duty, chanting Hare Krishna, all right, not like that. Srila Prabhupada says, with priti, with love. That kind of chanting, quality, not like that, not like that, priti. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti. That priti is required. That is the essential quality. End of quote. We go to another quote saying the same thing in Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. 9th chapter, 2nd verse. Purport. This sentence from this purport. God, who we know as Krishna, Srila Prabhupada says, God accepts only the love with which things are offered to him. So sometimes we see, this is me now talking, that devotees are thinking that if we engage in mechanical execution mechanical execution of our prescribed duties, our prescribed checklist of devotional activity with determination, then one day I'll be blessed with realization. Then I'll have feelings of love for Krishna in my heart. As Srila Prabhupada, he contemptuously refers to this approach. Contemptuous, I look it up online. It means ridicule, it means scorn. He scornfully refers to this attitude. Well, would you like to hear what Srila Prabhupada calls it? He calls it keeping the formula. Oh, I'm keeping the formula. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. Surely one day I'll have realization. So here's Srila Prabhupada's lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, 8th verse. This is given in Bombay, 1972, December 26. Srila Prabhupada's lecturing. Quote, attachment means love. Whether you're trying with a personal loving feeling in your heart to satisfy Krishna, that is the test. If that is not done, simply formula. If you execute the formula, as I have explained the other day, niyamagraha, then Sutta Goswami says it is simply laboring and waste of time. I'm taking these sentences here and there from purport, but this is Srila Prabhupada telling us that it's not about keeping a formula. It's not about keeping a prescribed list of do this, do that, and don't do this, don't do that. It's about connecting with Krishna through the medium of exchange in spiritual life. The medium exchange is from the heart. So the conclusion is that realization is not based on our mechanical obedience. Realization depends how much we engage in devotional service with feelings of love, because this is what Krishna wants. God accepts only the love with which things are offered to him. Therefore, the question arises, okay? Where does this ability to love, where does it come from? How do I acquire? So, Srila Prabhupada explains, Nectar of Instruction, text number 4, purport. Quote, pure love for Krishna, pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. Imagine. Let's read that again. Where does this love come from that we have to quote? Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of living entities. You can't get rid of it. It can be asleep, but but it's always there. It is not something, Srila Prabhupada continues, it is not something to be gained from another source. We don't receive as a benediction. We have to awaken what is already there. So, so then here's another one from a lecture given 1972, November 26, 1972, Hyderabad. A lecture on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 22. Quote, Prema. Prema is love for Krishna. Prema is not you have to get it outside. It is already there. Srila Prabhupada is making this. Why are you talking like this? Because we don't understand. As a body of disciples, we're thinking that we don't have it, and it has to be added to us. But if we're only good boys and girls, and this, so, so therefore, Srila Prabhupada has to make this point again and again. Here's another same lecture. Everyone, quote, Srila Prabhupada, everyone has prema, love. This propensity to love others, that is everywhere. That prema, that love, it is originally for Krishna, but because we're an illusion, that prema, that same love, is being applied or used for so many maya. Prema I have got. I have got my love. That is a fact. But I do not know where to repose that love. That is my misfortune. Srila Prabhupada continuing says, therefore, Krishna said that Sarva Dharman Parityagya Mam Ekam, me only Sharanam Braja. Srila Prabhupada, you have got prema. You apply it to me. Krishna is speaking. Srila Prabhupada continued. So if you think of Krishna with loving feeling, then you will increase your prema for Krishna. And this is the process. We're thinking the process is that we have to become robot number one or something, that we have to do checklist. I have done this, I have done, but Srila Prabhupada, the process is that by loving Krishna, our love becomes awakened. The conclusion is, now it's me speaking again, is that we all have this loving propensity. Our love for Krishna, it's dormant, it's sleeping within us because we're loving so many illusory objects of affection, right? I love my car. I love my bank account. I love my clothing. My I I love I love my social position. I love this. So I love my nation, etc. By transferring that same loving feeling to Krishna, our love for Krishna becomes progressively awakened. By transferring that same feeling of affection that we experience every day. It means that we think that, how can you feel? It means we have to believe that Krishna is really there and capable to hear and feel us. So Krishna consciousness, the question is, but we have a spiritual master, and how, in what way how can we learn from our relationship with a bona fide spiritual master? How can we learn to reawaken our love for Krishna? So Srila Prabhupada sometimes refers to Krishna consciousness that what we're in training like. He refers to Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada, as an apprenticeship program. Apprenticeship. You understand the word. In any apprenticeship program, what we're learning, what is being learned, that capacity, what we're learning, the capacity already exists in the apprentice. In association with the journeyman, with the expert, the person who's perfect in the art or the skill, whatever it may be, one can awaken this dormant skill within himself. In other words, if he didn't have the ability in potential form, no amount of training is going to, but because we have that capability, working under the master, the master of the art, the master of the trade, the master plumber, the master electrician, he said, do like this, but it's not a textbook. It's a personal relationship. He's giving you the feeling how to touch that pipe, how to touch that wire, right? So this in this way, the dormant capacity of the apprentice is invoked. It's an apprenticeship program in Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, verse 37. Srila Prabhupada explains that the capacity to love is our eternal inherent nature. It's eternal. It's inside of, it's part of what we are as spirit soul. If that capacity was not already there, it can't be wakened up. It can't. Srila Prabhupada keeps saying it's dormant within us. If it wasn't there, how can you wake up something that's not there? It's there. So, yeah, it cannot, if it wasn't there, it couldn't be invoked even by unlimited years, millions of years of practice. So Srila Prabhupada, he's explaining this same point in the Nectar of Devotion. He gives the example of a child that's learning to walk. If the walking capacity, Srila Prabhupada explains, was not inherent in the child, no amount of practice would be able to generate his capacity to walk. In the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, our inherent capacity to love Krishna is invoked by the association, in the association of a bona fide spiritual master he's vibrating with this quality of love of Krishna. He is love of Krishna personified. Okay? And so it's like a form of induction. Induction, they use that word in electricity. If we put a metal wire, for instance, if we take a metal wire and insert it into a live electric socket, the wire, what happens? It becomes electrified. If the same piece of wire is lying on your kitchen table, my kitchen table, with no connection to the socket, it's harmless. We can touch it. But if we take the same wire and we plug it and put a plug on it, if we take and insert the terminals of the plug into a wall socket, that same wire becomes connected to what? To the electrical power plant. If we touch that wire, we become connected to the power plant. So If the socket is connected to the powerhouse through the electric grid, we say, we immediately have a live connection and alternating current, AC current. Nikola Tesla, at the beginning of the previous century, he came up with this alternate. There's a reciprocating two-way flow. you, you have a toaster, the electricity comes from the powerhouse to the toaster, and then through the other wire, it returns back to the powerhouse. There's a reciprocating. So, if the socket is connected to the powerhouse through the grid, we immediately have a live connection. The bona fide spiritual master, he's the spiritual socket that we have to plug into because he's connected to Krishna. Sarva Karna Karanam, the cause of all causes. Krishna is the powerhouse. Krishna is the powerhouse, the energetic source. And one of his energies, he has unlimited energies. One of his energies is love. It's called Hladini Shakti. The bona fide spiritual master is connected to Krishna through this current of love. Yeah, we're in the material world and we have the same potential connection with Krishna, but the circuit is open. There's no sense of connection. When you put a switch on the wall and you turn on the switch, you're actually closing the current. You're making a complete connection. But so we're in the material world. We have no sense. We have the capacity to connect, but there's no sense of. Our business is to establish a living relationship with Krishna by establishing a live connection with Krishna's eternal, intimate associate. In the Bible, we have a similar, same thing. In the Bible, you'll recall if you have ever read Bible, that Jesus says, there's no way to connect with the Father except through me. He didn't mean that he was the only pure devotee. Krishna has unlimited millions of pure devotees in the spiritual world, everywhere. What Jesus meant was that in order to establish a living connection with God, we have to establish a living connection with one who's connected to God. So one may say, well, I accept that Srila Prabhupada has a bona fide connection of reciprocal, loving exchange with Krishna. But how can we plug into him today? He's no longer with us. He's not here. Well, spiritual science has an answer to that question. Spiritual science declares that we'll use some of today's jargon, okay? To speak, we have metaphors because we can speak in terms of the way we live to make a point. Spiritual science tells us that we can have a Bluetooth connection with the Absolute through God's empowered representative. I'll give you a crude example. In my house, we use computer, we use cell phone, but we live in the forest. We're off the grid. Our router is connected to a satellite dish on the roof, and the dish is connected to satellites that are roaming in outer space. Those satellites, they're connected with the web. through that wireless technology, we're connected to the World Wide Web. Yeah, our connection with the web is transcendental to time and space. And when I click on a link, I'm connected with you over thousands of miles. We can establish a transcendental connection with Krishna through a transcendental connection with Krishna's pure devotee. This is the science of Krishna consciousness. Every morning, the devotees in the temples, they sing, Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma. The lotus feet, yeah, translation, then we reciting. The lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way by which we can attain this pure devotional service. So how does it work? Do we attain pure devotional service simply by touching Srila Prabhupada's feet? Well, Srila Narottam Das Thakur explains the process in this same bhajan. Prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya. Avidya means ignorance, nescience. Avidya vinashayate. From him, this Krishna Prema emanates, this pure love of Krishna, it emanates. And by him, this ignorance is destroyed. What does this mean? It means that just as heat and light emanate from the sun globe, similarly, feelings of love for Krishna emanate from Srila Prabhupada's heart. Okay? Just as heat and light from him, Krishna emanates. Just as heat and light emanate from the sun globe, lighting up the whole universe. So love of Krishna emanates from Srila Prabhupada's heart. Huh? There's no limitation due to consideration of time and space. Srila Prabhupada is present with all of us. He's empowered by Krishna to share his love of Krishna with all of us. He's as powerful. How powerful is Srila Prabhupada? He's as powerful as the all-pervasive supersoul that pervades the whole universe. Yeah. Our scriptures tell us that the bona fide spiritual master, he's the external manifestation of the Lord in the heart. Srila Prabhupada is we can't perceive the Lord in the heart in our condition. We're baby devotees. But Srila Prabhupada is so just as Krishna on the altar in our temple, he's an external manifestation of Krishna in Krishna Loka. There's no difference, but he's an external manifestation, means in the things that we can hear and touch and feel and see, Krishna appears out of love, out of kindness before us. So, the pure devotee spiritual master, Krishna is Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect, intimate associate. He comes into the material world and He's our connection. So our scriptures say that the bona fide spiritual master is the external manifestation. Yes, that the super soul appears before us in the form of Krishna's pure devotee. He's empowered to take that position. He's called a Shakta Vaishavatar, that God appears before us in the form of an empowered devotee, but he's not different, and we relate to him as we would relate to God himself. So we have to embrace, this understanding that from him, this Krishna Prema emanates, this love of God. Like sunshine emanates from the sun globe. They're just like the sun can be outside now, and where I'm living, it's 90 degrees. The sun is shining. But if I go into a room and close the door and it has no windows, I'm in the dark. So if I have to make myself that able to place myself to absorb that emanation from the sun. I have to be willing. So, so the good that's and what happens when we do that, when we place ourselves open. What do you think, Ram?
What happens when we?
A voice came on and said, recording stop.
Oh, it's still going on live, Ishan Prabhu.
Okay. I was saluting, aye, Captain. So what happens if we absorb this emanation? Prema Bhakti Yahahoite. From him, this love emanates. What happens? Avidya vinashayate. Avidya, our ignorance is destroyed. Our hearts become filled with Srila Prabhupada's transcendental love of Krishna. And Maya cannot approach us. Our ignorance is destroyed. It's not that something new is added to us, but by imbibing Srila Prabhupada's devotional energy, our own dormant love for Krishna becomes awakened. This same relationship is described by Srila Prabhupada in his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, the 5th chapter, the 25th text. Srila Prabhupada explains that unless we become, a strong sentence, unless we become as spiritually pure as Krishna himself, we can't become Krishna's pure devotee. Here's Srila Prabhupada's words. I'm taking these sentences from different places in the commentary, purport. Quote, the personality of Godhead is the purest entity. And unless one is equally pure from the infection of material qualities, one cannot become a pure devotee of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada explained the process then of how do we become as pure as Krishna himself. Quote, first line in the purport, pure devotion is as much infectious in a good sense as infectious diseases. Srila Prabhupada is comparing the feeling of the pure love of Krishna, devotional Krishna, to COVID or any other disease. Pure devotion, quote, is as much infectious in a good sense as infectious diseases, unquote. Then further down in the purport, maybe halfway, Srila Prabhupada explains what infection of the qualities of a pure devotee means. Infection of the qualities, quote, infection of the qualities of the pure devotee means to imbibe the taste of pure devotion, always in the transcendental activities that connect us with the personality of Godhead. So that we have to imbibe the taste. We have to we have to meet someone who has the taste and we drink it from them. We imbibe it. Or if you put a seed in water, it swells as it imbibes that water. It swells. Our hearts will swell. So, and then what's the result? And when we imbibe that taste, what happens? Srila Prabhupada says, quote, this transcendental taste, it at once makes all material things distasteful. Okay? In this way, and now I'm talking again. In this way, we become liberated from the unwanted desires in our heart. We call it anartha. Nivriti. Artha means something worthwhile gaining. Anartha means things we don't want. Nivriti, to eliminate. Anartha nivriti, how we come to the point where we no longer have material desire. So it says that Srila Prabhupada is explaining that if we come in touch with someone who's a pure devotee, and that we can become infected by association, just like a person catches an infectious disease by intimate association. But what happens when we become infected with this? When we actually taste, infection means to get the taste. What does it feel like to have a devotional feeling? He says when you get it, your taste for the material sense gratification, goes away. So, so he said, then Srila Prabhupada. So this is our so-called sinful propensity. There's only one sin. It's wanting to be a separate enjoyer from Krishna. And that the desire can take millions of different ways to express. Okay? You can rob a bank, or you can just sit down and have an apple without thinking to offer it to Krishna. It's all the same thing, independent enjoyer. So that's our sinfulness. But by having the taste of devotion to Krishna, this taste, uh, this takes away our taste for being an independent enjoyer. We don't care anymore. Actually, we like it to be a devotee. So Srila Prabhupada says, continues to write, how this process goes on. He writes, quote, after the elimination of all sins or obstacles on the path of devotional service, the way in which we were describing by imbibing that taste, one can become attracted. One can have steadiness. One can have perfect taste. One can have transcendental emotion. And at last, see, this is a progressive process. And at last, one can be situated on the plane of loving service to the Lord. And all of these stages Srila Prabhupada continues. All of these stages develop by the association of a pure devotee. So this is the description, right now I'm talking. This is a description of the cultivation of Krishna consciousness in the transcendental association of a pure devotee. This is the science of Krishna consciousness. It's not a sentimental I'm a member now, I can wear a pin or a badge or whatever, or salute someone who's in charge. It's not like that. To be a devotee means that we have this living connection with Krishna through this current of love that is by associating with someone who's a pure devotee, who has this love of Krishna, we can imbibe the taste. Actually, without living in his association, we can't feel this taste. Therefore, there's one prayer by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in our songbook. He says, "Oh, you who have this taste, when will I hold your feet till the end of time? When, oh, when will that day be mine?" Because there's no other way to get the taste. When will I hold your feet? That's how much we have to want it. And so, practice makes perfect. We cultivate it, the habit. And because it feels good, it tastes good, we want more. When will I hold your feet? When will I be intelligent enough to hold your feet till the end of time? When, oh, when will that day be mine? Not about, he gave me my instruction list and now I do it. And no, it's a personal relationship, transcendental relationship. So, so where am I now? After, Prema Bhakti. So this description provided by Srila Prabhupada in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.25, it's exact elaboration of the prayer that we sing every morning. Prema Bhakti Yaha Hoite Avidyava Nashayate. From him, this love emanates. If we can catch it, our taste for everything non-Krishna it goes away. It's eliminated. By him, from him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, our ignorance is destroyed. That's what we sing every day. So we should understand. But if we don't have the connection, holding his feet till the end of time, it's not going to work. So that's the science. So from him, this pure love of Krishna emanates, but therefore the spiritual master, he has to have this intimate connection with Krishna. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry can recite, or he can memorize Bhagavad Gita. He can recite this philosophy. He can present himself as a spiritual master, but if he doesn't have this loving reciprocation, intimate association with Krishna, by holding his lotus feet till for millions or trillions of years, or till the end of till when the cosmic manifestation is finished, you can hold. You never get anything like that from him because he can only give you what he has. Therefore, the spiritual master has to be a Mahabhagavat devotee. But so they're thinking that they're taking so many. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, what? It's not a, what do they call it? A fashion to have a spiritual master. Oh, I have a spiritual master. Here's his picture I have in my wallet. Put it in my back pocket and sit down on it. Is having to have a spiritual master is not a fashion. We have to approach someone who has a living connection with Krishna. Time and space are irrelevant. People can have a relationship with Jesus today. He was here 2,000 years ago. Srila Prabhupada acknowledges that. But Srila Prabhupada's gone 50 years. These fools are saying, no, you can't take him as your spiritual master. Why? We won't go into all of that. But we're trying to explain the science of Krishna consciousness. So in the Nectar of Devotion, 12th chapter, Srila Prabhupada explains the same process. Here he's using different metaphors. One metaphor, like the sun, this love of Krishna is emanating from him. Krishna Prema emanate. Another example, that if you have intimate association with somebody who's carrying this love, you can catch it just like you catch a disease. Another metaphor. Now here's another metaphor. You see, because of pure devotees, they're very poetic. So they have to give us in words so we can get some idea, some understanding. In this 12th chapter of Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada, association, quote, association is very important. It acts just like what? Now, a different thing. Not like a disease, not like sunshine. It acts like a crystal stone, meaning like a mirror, has a reflective quality. Association is new metaphor. It acts just like a crystal stone, which will reflect anything which is put before it. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada writes, if we associate with the flower-like devotees of the Lord, if our hearts are crystal clear, then certainly the same action will be there. He's emanating. Our heart's like a mirror. It picks it up and it reflects it out. See, there's one prayer in our songbook that that if I can receive the emanation, the moonlight emanation from Srila Rupa Goswami in my heart, then I can reflect that same love towards Krishna Loka. So different poetry. And this is a metaphoric description of the science of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada is explaining that our hearts can act like a mirror that reflects whatever is before it, and if we associate with a pure devotee, quote, the same action, we will imbibe the taste of his devotion, and in this way, our dormant love of Krishna, it becomes reawakened. In that same paragraph, but what's being awakened is our own love. It's in the presence of his love that our love is being awakened. In that same paragraph, Srila Prabhupada provides another metaphor for explaining this process. Srila Prabhupada writes, quote, another example is given in this connection is, another example given in this connection is that if a man is potent, he means sexually potent. And if a woman, her womb is not diseased, he means her womb is clean. Then by their conjugation, there will be conception. A child will be born in the womb. Srila Prabhupada continued. In the same way, if the recipient of spiritual knowledge and the deliverer of that spiritual knowledge are both sincere and bona fide, there will be good results. In this metaphor, and now I speak, in this metaphor, Srila Prabhupada describes the process of association with a pure devotee as being like a husband. He's placing his seed in the womb of his wife. If the man is potent and if the wife is pure, not diseased, there's going to be conception. Both these metaphors, like a crystal stone, like a mirror, or putting the seed in the womb, the seed of devotion. Both these metaphors refer to a very intimate mode of association between the disciple and the bona fide spiritual master. However, in order for our hearts to reflect the qualities of the pure devotee, the mirror of the heart must be, Srila Prabhupada, crystal clear. We have to become qualified in order to be able to receive that transmission, to receive before we can reflect. We have to receive. Before baby can grow, there has to be conception. In order to have infection, we have to have that association with someone who has that infection. So, what is the qualification? What does it mean that our heart, that I have to be, Srila Prabhupada, I have to be able to sense his presence. Before I can receive that emanation. I have to be able to sense Srila Prabhupada's all-pervasive. He's as good as the all-pervasive Supersoul. He's the external manifestation of the Lord in all of our hearts. He's everywhere present. We have to be able to sense his presence in order for this transmission, in order for this process to become infected, to become manifest. So Srila Prabhupada says, the process is that the association of Srila Prabhupada, in his association, our dormant love of Krishna is become reawakened, but there's the caveat, I look up that word caveat, is that our consciousness has to be sufficiently purified so that we're able to absorb what he wishes to share with us. That's all he's here for. He wants to share his heart with us because there's no other way for us to approach Krishna. So he says, the mirror of the heart has to be crystal clear. The womb of our heart has to be clean to receive the seed of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada describes this quality of purified consciousness In Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, text number 20, in his purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the Brahman, he's the symbol of sattva gun, mode of goodness, or the mode of goodness. One, Srila Prabhupada continues, one cannot be a devotee unless one at least qualifies as a Brahmin. In Bhagavad Gita, it's explained that the Brahmin, if he really cultivates Brahminical qualities, the Brahma Bhuta platform will awaken with it. He'll begin to understand, I'm not this body. Then he can have a sense of connection with Krishna. Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. So Srila Prabhupada says, one cannot become devotee unless one at least qualify. Why does Srila Prabhupada, he's giving Brahmin thread. I've been amongst devotees where somebody who was working very well with a backhoe, and the temple president was saying he wanted to become a Brahmin. He said, if I use my backhoe and clear this road for you, will you make me a Brahmin? He says, yes, certainly I will. It's the quality of of a Brahmin. It's not necessarily that he can use a backhoe. The quality of a Brahmin, samo dhammo tapa shocham shantir arjavam eva cha. That he has to be peaceful within his heart. So tapa, he has to be a little austere, clean, shocham. So many. So why does Srila Prabhupada describe? Because it is this kind of heart that can begin to sense the present. But what happens when one develops Brahminical qualities? He becomes joyful within his heart. Not because he won the lottery or because something happened the way he wanted it to happen, but it's causeless. It's a quality of goodness. One has to be able to, when we approach Srila Prabhupada, when we approach Krishna with a joyfulness in our heart, immediately we have a sense of reciprocation. They're always there. They're always there. But we're covered like a cloak of passion and ignorance. Therefore, mode of goodness, the sense of their presence, the joyfulness, and the ability to, without one becomes capable of having a loving feeling. When they become joyful, you want to share it. It's spontaneous. This has to be accomplished in order for this process to take place, that as soon as we become joyful, peaceful within, and joyful in our heart, we can begin to sense the presence of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. On our altar, why not? Then wherever we are. Then we're drinking. Then we're absorbing that taste. That's our culture. It may take one lifetime. It may take 10 lifetimes to make that we'll reach the point of when will I hold your feet until the end of time. Because we have so many habitual ways of being passionate or of being lamenting about something. We have so many from millions of births. So we're cultivating to climb up a little higher. We can have a better perspective from a higher vantage point. So in the mode of goodness, we attain these qualities. na sochati na kankshati, where we become free of lamentation, free of material desire, as described 1854 in Bhagavad Gita. In this mode of purity, we can approach Srila Prabhupada submissively. Submissively means I can feel what you're feeling. I'm not so much blocked out what you're feeling because my mind and heart are so filled with my own business. Now, submissive means putting all that aside and just being open. That's submissive. Submissive oral reception. And that his sound vibration is filled with the saffron dust particles that are on Krishna's lotus feet. If we give oral reception, what kind of oral? Ardent, that I want this, eagerness again. So to have this relationship. So this mode of purity, we can approach Srila Prabhupada submissively with a joyful heart, with confidence that we can cultivate a relationship of loving reciprocation with him. And as we begin to sense Srila Prabhupada's presence, we can begin to understand, yes, from him, this Krishna Prema emanates. And we can begin to imbibe the taste of his devotion. And when we become qualified in this way, when we become, or so to speak, armed with this taste, then we have the ability to cultivate our Krishna consciousness under the guidance of Krishna's pure devotee. What does it mean, under his guidance? It means we're feeling his presence all the time. He's giving us the taste with which we can saturate our devotional activities with this flavor. That's why it says in our scripture that one moment's association with a pure devotee is all that's required. One moment. Because, and that could happen to anyone, anywhere, but once one has that, it can return to that, to cultivate that feeling. You know, many people came and went from temples or auditoriums when Srila Prabhupada was talking, but if they didn't, one moment means one moment of submissive receptivity, where you begin just taste his presence. Can carry that in our heart. It becomes the baseline of our meditation for our life, our whole life. And it keeps to grow, and it keeps to expand within our heart. And then in that way, we cultivate the taste of devotional service under his guidance in the association of Krishna's pure devotee. That's what it means, in the association. We should always be in his association. Association, like a crystal stone that reflects whatever is placed. So the mirror of our heart has to, if we chant nicely Hare Krishna, gradually the mirror of our heart becomes cleaner, cleaner, cleaner. There's one quote and one verse that if we engage in these activities of chanting, it automatically raises us to the mode of goodness, where our hearts become able to be more perceptive in this. Excuse me. Okay, maybe that's a good time to stop. All right.
Yes, 1 hour and 7 minutes.
All right, we're improving.
Go ahead.
So how shall we play it, Ram Prabhu? Shall we ask people for questions?
Well, yeah, regarding this topic of loving devotional service, which is present in every living entity, just as we have discussed it, and that being inherently present, and Krishna consciousness being that is basically the goal to reawaken this. So that's what you want the question to be on. So um, let's see. One question would be that we're surrounded by all kinds of living entities, meaning like our family, our friends. They they have a different type of we could say consciousness they're brought in this life, right? And then we taking birth in that. How would we reciprocate towards these living entities? I guess we can give them prasadam, we can give them a book, but we can't really reciprocate in a sense because they're not accepting Krishna consciousness. So, you know what I'm saying?
Perfectly, I live with it. Um, when I left the movement after Srila Prabhupada's departure, I was a young fellow, so it was what, 50 years ago. I got a job and I had a house,
Hmm.
I had this and I had that. And, and I met this lady, And where was it now? I was 50, about 30 years ago, 35 years ago. And she was also vegetarian, and she was very concerned about how we take care of this nice planet and ecology. And I became associated with her, and so we're still together today. But for her, uh, like for many people, our philosophy, our metaphysical conceptions, it's like Disneyland. It's like it's a very beautiful, but at the same time, she, she put flowers on the altar today. At the
Right.
same at the same time, we she'll say, "Can you offer to Krishna quickly? I'm really hungry." At the same time, she has tremendous love for me. So when someone has, if someone has love for a devotee, they begin to become, they begin to acquire the qualities of someone they love. So it, it may not be the ideal situation according to, our scriptures, that we should only associate with people who are also devotee. But then I have this sense of, I have a sense that what I started, I should complete. I shouldn't be irresponsible, hit and run. So, but as they were going to offer this, make an offering on what we've been cooking, we'll have kirtan. Yes, she's getting kartals, and I'm bringing mridanga, mridanga. And we're doing like that. So there's a difference then that someone may not be able to embrace, but they're not antagonistic. They're not resenting. They're not being hateful. Then it's everything they're doing in little ways. It's positive. It's positive. having affection for a devotee or someone like myself who's trying to be a devotee. It's, it, I'm, I'm always thinking, and sometimes I'm praying for Krishna. Please help her to understand like that. So, um, I don't know if that is helping in any way to answer, but I think if they love us, it's in their favor. If they, then, if we're nice with them, uh, then they'll open their hearts to us and they'll open their hearts to the, you know, like that. Then it's all very positive. So is that helpful at all?
Yeah, because this reciprocation, because you're serving Krishna and she's helping, or anyone that is helping, they get a piece of the
Yeah,
uh, the devotional service indirectly or
yeah,
directly, whatever you may call it. So that's I think that's sufficient because we try to give people Krishna consciousness. Some people might not be ready, but we try to engage them in some service to Srila Prabhupada or give them a book or, to clean the temple or something. So it's a gradual elevation in Krishna consciousness.
I'll
I get
give you an example.
Yes.
It's 90 degrees outside, and I was getting ready to sit down here and speak a little. And she said, but this morning, it's cold because we're on a mountaintop. It was for like 50 degrees. So I had Krishna on the altar, Srila Prabhupada, with a chadar around him. And she said to me when I'm sitting here, it's too warm for them. They're going to be, it's too warm. We have to remove the shutters. I said, could you please remove the shutter? And she did very carefully. So, whereas, this might have been so foreign to her so many years ago, but now she enjoys doing things like that. So, little by little, yeah, little by little, they're becoming devotees.
Jai. Prahlad Prabhu, any discussion on this topic you've been hearing? So
Yeah, just appreciating all the insights. Nothing much to add. Don't want to give a lecture, So
so you got the answer. Pade pade, slowly and slowly.
day by day, for sure.
Engaging ourselves and try to engage others in Krishna consciousness. Ishan Prabhu, thank you very much. I think that's sufficient because we can only do so much.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
All right,
Thank you, Prabhu. So we'll see everyone on next week. And
Thank
yeah.
thank you very much.
Jai Prabhu, all glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada.